Hey everyone, welcome to this new episode of TNT, and we are here with Jen Mirambeau to talk about the power of dance and the energy of dance. So for everyone who doesn't know you, just go ahead and introduce yourself to the world, to everyone watching. What is your mission on this world and on this planet, and who are you? It's a loaded
Mm.
question to begin with.
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on this show. Hello, everyone. I go by Jenergy. Actually, my name's Jen. I'm really tapped in with energy, and it's amazing to be on the show because this is what it's all about. So, yeah, I go by Jenergy, and my passion is to really remind the world of our true freedom and infinite connection with all there is through our radical self-expression and true heart expansion and connection within ourselves and each other. And I've been finding deeper levels of freedom and connection within myself through dance and expression, and realizing that I was only holding myself back. And there were so many ways in which I held on to limiting beliefs and programs that I had to heal from and reprogram and repattern. And I'm committed to sharing this information and wisdom with the world in ways that just allow us to experience more love and connection. That's really what we're here for. So, yeah.
Wow, that was like a that was like a got
Just
that.
go right to it. Got
Yes,
it.
people are like, well, I don't know, maybe.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
or
well, we could choose to be in suffering or not, and that's what it comes down to. And we realize that a lot of the ways in which society has conditioned us to be allows us to stay in a cycle of suffering. And when we really look at that and really look at ourselves and don't like blame anyone, it's like, oh well, society's fault or whatever, just the way it is, that we don't have to choose to stay in that. But if we're not aware, then how would we ever know? So I'm just like, I'm bringing awareness. If you want to choose, that path, you can. If you don't, that's okay too. And like, I love you no matter what.
yeah, I know a lot of people watching this, and myself included, been able to do a little bit of alchemy. I mean, actually, a lot of alchemy on the shame around dance and expression of movement. How do you think uh, you can personally help, and also just how people can help themselves to kind of break free of those emotional chains of like, what is other people thinking, am I doing this, how am I looking, and all of these things that come in with just the joy of dance, because it's so, when you let yourself go, it's so joyful and such an expression of love.
Yeah. And like, thank you for asking that, because that's really the biggest thing that I talk about and share about. And it's a little bit of background on myself. I was, very like free spirited, connected child, but like very ashamed of dancing at the same time. Like, I love to play sports, I love to play outside, but like dancing, I was like, whoa, no. And I just like held this like huge level of like shame and fear around my expression through dance. Like I said, I love to move. It wasn't moving per se, but it was like the connection with the rhythm. I felt like I didn't understand music. I didn't understand the beat. And I was just like very awkward with it. So any of those like school dances, I just like hid or like didn't go, or was just like very uncomfortable. And it really wasn't until having some breakthrough experiences, I would definitely say that plant medicines helped to really awaken me to that, and going to music festivals. And at that point, I really had like a profound awakening experience at a music festival, my first one ever. It was like, it wasn't even like a transformational music festival. This was like we have these festivals out in like West Coast and California, and now like more so here. But back like this was like almost 10 years ago, there were more of those were like more in California. And I was just at this one that was like MTV was sponsoring. It was like called Hangout Music Festival, Gulf Shores, Alabama. And like I said, there was no like yoga classes or anything like that, but I had a very spiritual, profound awakening, because that's what music is. That's what art is. It is our connection to spirit, to the divine, to our creative energy, our life force energy that flows through. And through that, like I remember this exact moment where I started hearing the beat of the music differently. And I was like, oh, this makes sense. And then I just started getting into it. And then, with whatever circumstances I had in that moment, it just like I let go of that like fear of what are other people thinking of me. Like, I was like, wait, that doesn't even matter. Why was I concerned about that anymore? Like, that's only holding me back. Like, why would I like let that continue to affect me? And I just like started doing all of these, like, I was like, wow, like breaking out. And it was like this one like breakout experience. And then it definitely took a lot of work to kind of integrate that, because I, like there was a lot that's still like on a more like slower base. If I wasn't at a festival for 3 days around art and music consistently, it takes a little bit to kind of break out of the norm of what we're doing in society, which is not dancing all the time. So I fast forward, I moved out to California. What?
I said, unfortunately.
Yeah. I moved out
We're
to
not that evolved
California.
yet.
I moved out to California, and then I started going to more transformational festivals. And I call it like that because they have the intention of transformation. There's not only just dance class, not only dancing, but there's dance classes, there's yoga classes, spirituality classes, breath work, meditation, so it's really about how we can connect deeper with ourselves and not just take like drink or take substances in order to get out, but to like, how do we really go inwards? And if I do take any sort of like plant medicine, it's really to how I can enhance and open myself to be able to feel more rather than suppress. And I believe that a lot of the issues that we have, depression and everything, comes from a suppression of something. We're not wanting to feel, whether it is the pain or even pleasure. Sometimes we're depressed because we conditioned ourselves to kind of move out of feeling pleasure. And that's even dance, where we feel like guilty for being so happy and ecstatic because some way in society we were judged for that. And recognizing that, okay, that's just a limiting belief. I don't have to continue to feel that. The way out of it is to actually go into it. And let's say we go to an ecstatic dance. I recommend going to safe spaces like ecstatic dances, where you're in a space that's held for the purpose of your expansion. It's not about performing. It's not about other people looking at each other. It's not about who's more fucked up or whatever. It's like, so that you can feel, and the space is held in such a way that you feel safe and invited, and it's all about consent. So you don't have, like, for example, women, oftentimes we go to a club and we have a guy like trying to get behind us and like dance with us, and it's like, oh, I don't feel safe, I need to close off. So that's a big reason why people, women especially, would not want to feel safe to go and express themselves fully through dance, because dance is our sexual energy. And so we go to ecstatic dance and we set that intention, and we start to feel those uncomfortable sensations come up, to, instead of running from them, go into them. Just be like, okay, I'm aware that this is here. I'm loving myself through it. Maybe you have to like, love yourself, hold yourself for a little bit, but like to just keep doing it, and maybe do it a little bit extra. Maybe like, oh, this is really uncomfortable. I'm just going to like be a little more awkward and more extra, and just allow yourself to feel it, because but most of it is just not wanting to feel that uncomfortable sensation. But if you tell yourself that this uncomfortable sensation is safe, you're not putting yourself in any danger, then you're free. Like you remember you're free. You're always free, but you remember that you're free, and then you can just be in whatever it is and recognize that you're safe. And so that was really the practice that I did for a long time. And I didn't really have someone guiding me through it and telling me, all you have to do is just like feel that. I had to kind of like figure this out on my own. I would go to ecstatic dances. A lot of people were like kind of already very expressed and embodied within their dance, especially out in California where I was living at the time. But it wasn't like I heard this philosophy behind it. So I was like, why do I keep going like this and that? Like, I feel like I'm really there and then I'm not. And I was like trying to like figure that out. And then I realized that it was just like me choosing to go into that or not. And that was like the breakthrough moment, where now it's like I can go on a dance floor and I don't have to like kind of find my dance. It's like already there and happening within me.
Yeah, I was also that nerd in the back of the dance, or staying home and meditating or watching Star Wars or something. But the thing that I really resonated with, as you said, is that we put conditions around ourselves around joy and pleasure. And that's one of the most powerful things that I learned from my psychic teacher, and I integrate in every psychic reading that I offer, is this empowerment of unconditional joy and unconditional strength, for you to be able to hold yourself in that space of, I'm feeling really good, and it's just because I'm dancing, or it's just because I'm doing qigong, or it's just because I'm here now. And there's no legitimate reason to be happy. Like, we're not earning 100,000 a year. That could be great, could make you happy, but we're not doing A, B, and C that are conditions placed around our consciousness from other people's consciousness. We're just, I mean, that's what did it for me with dance, is like I'm just dancing to be happy now and not trying to prove anything to anyone. And then the quality increased, or at least I perceived that way. And then my relation to the dance of life also increased. So that leads me to a really good question for you. And I'll leave it very open-ended, very vague, very Piscean, to let you really roll with it. Is, how do you feel about the idea of, or the concept of, the dance of life, and how can we dance with life more rhythmically and more gracefully, I guess?
Pisces rising over here loves this question. I mean, it was really in one of a beautiful medicine experience that I had where I felt like the dancing goddesses came to me and reminded me that I am the dancing goddess that gets to be here and remind everyone of this dance of life, and that's what it is. That we are all dancing, that energies are just dancing all of the time. The planets are dancing around the sun. When we step into the flow, like modern science more so calls it the flow state, more Eastern spirituality call it like the dance of life or things like that. When we step into that, it's like we're in this like rhythm and flow that just like effortlessly takes us over, and we surrender into it. And it's really a lot of it is mainly just getting out of our own way and getting out of those mental programs and blocks that keep us from being in it all the time. And when we step out of it, that happens. And it's like just honoring ourselves, try not to make ourselves wrong for it, try not to, say, oh, you did something wrong, or, you made this mistake, but like to just honor that, forgive, be grateful, and then like just surrender back into it when that flows. And yeah, and like we can tap into it by just even like observing a flower, because it's in everything, and it's just being in the present moment without feeling like I'm somewhere else, either in the past or the future. Depression comes from being, kind of focusing on the past, and anxiety is really focusing on the future and worrying about what's next. But when we're just embracing that present moment and able to like breathe with it, that's when we get to step into that. And that's how all of our dance practice, our meditation practice, our yoga practice brings us back, unifies us back into that present moment, which is really all there is. And that's the dance. It's like it's constantly there, it's constantly dancing. And especially plant medicine experiences allow us to feel that, because it takes us out of the normal operating mind that kind of takes us out of that and into like just the experiences. And a lot of times it may bring up traumas or past experiences that we held on to that kind of further take us away from that experience, because we're holding on to some pain of the past. It doesn't allow us to be in the present, and we're holding on to some sort of trauma that the ego conditioned to believe, oh, this is bad, or this is wrong, or I need to protect myself in some way, that essentially doesn't allow for me to be in the present moment and for the dance to just flow effortlessly through our bodies, because our energy channel is that connection, is that bridge between heaven and earth, between the realms like outside of the body and in the body, where we are that bridge, and our frequency, our channel gets to bring those messages down through it, whether it's in the form of words, in the form of song, in the form of poetry, in the form of painting, dance. Like that's what art is. That's like dance of life, and the dance is just a physical manifestation of that.
Yeah, we had Francesco Garipoli, who I would consider to be a qigong master, on the show a few episodes ago, and he also referred to the beautiful dance of life that we're in. I saw this really interesting experiment about syncopation, and that's like getting into rhythm, basically, syncopation, if anybody doesn't know that fancy word. And it's basically most of nature, pretty much all of nature, tries to harmonize itself in some way, movement wise, but also verbally, kind of sound wise. So every person, unless you're completely tone deaf, which there are people without sense of tone, and they're clapping off beat and stuff like that. The majority of people are trying to get into the rhythm. Like everybody's kind of anticipating and okay, what's this person flowing with? What do I have to contribute to this? And that rhythm, when you catch that groove, it's like catching a gnarly wave. You're just like,
Yeah.
yeah, you get that tingling inside and you're in it, and it's almost like the body sensations start to feel a lot lighter. And something I'll share with you all is that metaphysically, psychically, we do carry chains. We carry ancestral chains. These are, just because we can't see them doesn't mean they're not there. So we carry ancestral chains. We carry baggage from other people, from our ancestors, from our family. We carry chains from the expectations we put on ourselves. Oftentimes in psychic work, I'll have to do shamanic melting of people's chains and turning them into a shield or a sword that they could use for better purposes or some sort of tool. People carry chains of greed, people carry chains of shame, of expectations of meeting a certain work standard. And we can all, through meditation, or if you're not at that level of meditation, come to somebody like Jen or myself and work on melting away these chains. Literally taking these metaphysical pains that manifest as physical pains and relieve ourselves with the power of the heart, with the power of things like dance and Reiki. I have a good friend, Brian, and I know that he won't mind me talking about this, but I did a psychic reading for him the first time that we connected, and he had this thing with his ankle going on. He didn't tell me, but I said, "You got this thing with your ankle going on. There's a ball and chain connected to your ankle, and it has to do with your grandfather was connected with the Freemasons and was very greedy and was very money oriented and work oriented, and you're carrying that baggage." And he's like, "My ankle's been in pain for months. My grandpa was a Mason, and we got that melted and liberated, and he freed himself up for more dancing." So I would love to know a bit more of your metaphysical experience with specifically releasing or melting or transmuting these chains that we carry in our consciousness, our being.
Yeah, I mean, a huge way, like I said, is embodiment practices, especially with dance. And, we can see it as like we're dancing, we feel that weight or that like constriction. There's like that shame. A lot of it is going to be ancestral levels of shame and fear and guilt. And moving with them so that it's like the dance becomes like an alchemical practice of like literally moving them out of our being. So I like to do a lot of movements of like liberation, and it's like I can be even visualizing the energy like releasing out of my body, because how much do you see people just walking around with their arms open and like, hey, fully open, totally, like not often. I did an experiment once where I just walked down the boardwalk at the beach, like fully open. Very interesting things happen. I can talk about that another time, but in the dance, it can be like an expression of that. Like I'm releasing the chains, I'm like shaking it off. And it's like you're alchemicalizing it in the moment and returning the spirals back to the body, because energy moves in those spirals in a circular like motion. So we can literally be having that intention in mind as we're releasing it and moving it through. And then we're aware of like, oh, feels like a little difficult in that area. Oh, there's like that injury, or maybe you start to feel like an emotion that's in that space, and honoring that. And you may need to cry. That's another form of like this alchemical movement, is like releasing the emotions, crying, screaming. You might find laughter, laughing, and like actually expressing all that. That's why ecstatic dance is such a safe space. We're not supposed to talk, but it's not our so that we're not in the operating that mental mind, but we can release with sound. We can scream, we can like sound it out, cry, like you're safe to express fully in whatever form is needed and that you feel in that moment, and recognize that we no longer keep having to have to tell ourselves no. And that is like just the greatest gift that you can give yourself, by saying that all of you is safe here. All of you is welcome here. All of you is accepted and free to be in this way. Obviously, like you're not, you don't hurt people or something like that, but your expression of what's needed with your emotions is safe and welcomed and invited, and like want more of you. And so that's when you just you come out of that ecstatic dance and you're like, wow, I just feel like more free. Like I let something go. And a lot of it, like for me, and I can think that a lot of other women, especially, but men as well too, will relate that we hold, like our power is also our sexual energy. It's our creative energy. And when we're afraid or ashamed to express that around other people, because someone might judge us, ooh, they're trying to like impress someone, they're trying to show off, they're like too in love with themselves or whatever, that's actually you just holding yourself back. And my biggest breakthroughs have been going to ecstatic dances, being in a safe space where I can express my sexual energy in a way where it's not because I'm having sex on the dance floor or anything, but I'm moving in a way, in a sensual, like embodied way, because I'm not blocking off the energy in my hips. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we go to ecstatic dance and people might be up here and they don't feel totally safe to go into those areas. And you're still blocking off, you're still restricting. And so a big thing that I tap into is like, how deep can I go in that space? The last time I felt myself like on the floor, like humping the air in a very rhythmical way that ended up allowing me to tap in deeper to like an African type of like movement dance, which African type, like those Afro beats, you got to be really connected in your hips there. Like if you're blocked there, it's not going to work, because like that's the form of movement. They're very connected with their root chakra and sacral. And so I found that I had to like feel those uncomfortable sensations of like, oh, people are going to think like this and that of me, and like remind myself that that's not true. Like I was doing that for myself. I wasn't doing that to try to show off for someone. Like I was like even closing my eyes with it, and it like allowed me, and I literally felt like this energy of like stuck energy just like release. And it's like I found another part of my body, and it continues to happen. I've been going to ecstatic dance for like since like 2015, I'd say. So for that amount of time, like it's been a practice of like going deeper into this. I'm much more like strategic about it now. And like, I see what it is that's holding me back. For a long time, I was kind of confused, but now I realize like, oh, I just have to like go into those uncomfortable sensations and like allow myself to feel that, and like, and like love myself through that process. And then I just feel more free. And like literally right after I did that, like my dance, like my legs just felt more released, like relaxed, and I can do more movements that were just flowing effortlessly rather than having this tension and stuck energy, because that is really just what emotion is stored there. Shame, a lot of times, fear.
I really love that you keep using the word freedom, because that's so it. Like, what's the reason why somebody wouldn't be able to dance and express themselves? At some level, they feel they're not free. I mean, like Rumi said, why don't you fly when the cage is so wide open, or why don't you leave the prison when the door is so wide open, something like that.
Yeah.
From a past life. But then we have from a masculine perspective, I like to use two analogies that I got in meditation for sexual energy specifically, especially in dancing, when you're in an environment with other people who also want to be free and safe and feel joy and love. We all want that at some level. One is the dragon. So like our sexual energy as men is almost like the opposite of what we're saying. It's like so outward, so masculine, that it's like, for everyone watching this, hold back a bit, go within a bit more, become more yin. Stop focusing so much on sex for pleasure or sex for you, and focus on
give everything like a proper
utilizing your personal inner dragon, because it's a power, especially that masculine, very much so dragon energy, very much so, very fierce and physically empowering and strengthening. Utilizing that for the enjoyment and pleasure of life, and feeling that within first, and tuning into your ability to use that strength to be safe for others, not just for women, but for men too, whatever you're personally dancing for or around. Being able to take that dragon energy and to be respectful with it, be that friendly dragon, that kind and protective force, because there's so many using it for selfish gains. There's so many using it for pleasure and just pumping dopamine into the system rather than oxytocin and love. Another analogy I like to do is like for men, the masculine energy is like a sword. So if you just go swinging the sword around at everybody, it's like, whoa, hold up, cool it, crazy person. Like, keep off and let everybody else feel safe in this dance space. But you're also making yourself feel safe. It's not just channeling this masculine sexual energy in a more mindful way for others. It's also when you really truly respect women and men with your masculine sexual energy, especially in dance, that can become intimate or can come close to being so intimate, is you are more respected also. If you're out there humping everyone as a dude, it's like, oh, what's this creep doing? Or someone might perceive that in a positive light, or whatever judgments come from it. But it's not as wholesome as, wow, look at that person really enjoying themselves. Look at that person so free dancing. Look at that guy using his rhythm in a way that moves people without even touching them.
Yeah.
And that brings it into a space of I'd like to talk about that, about consent for you as a woman, but not only as a woman, as a person that is respectful and mindful and loving towards others and the environment. What advice would you have for everyone, not just men, women too, of being more conscious and respectful in dance, and being able to be in that flow and rhythm and not like crash upon people?
Yeah. It really starts off with like a slow, introduction to your energy with another person. Like a lot of times you'll start getting closer to each other and just maybe you're mirroring or you're making eye contact and you're in that space where like, okay, we're dancing together. And then if you're feeling like, okay, perhaps like I want to explore a deeper level of intimacy, starting with the arm and just like, a little bit of like contact here with the arms, like this is one person, this is another. So you're like, there in that space and listening to the person. If they're feeling open, they're feeling inviting and wanting to go in more, then that's a yes. Or if they're like backing off or they're going away and you're like, wait, no, come back, that's like crossing a boundary. So really, it just really comes down to listening, and energy speaks without needing words. And then you can also kind of like have a more like, if you start to like tap into your sexual energy, you're not like touching the person yet, and they're like matching you in that space and they're wanting to go in there, then you're like starting to meet there. And it's like, it's unfolding in that moment. It's not something you can like, oh, I should have asked that person beforehand because maybe you didn't know. Like energy is just speaking in that moment. And if someone, it also takes responsibility for the person, if they're like feeling this is a no, to like stop and walk away. And a good way to kind of do that without, being like, fuck you, bye, or something like that. It's just like a namaste. And then you kind of just look and like, it's like, thank you. And like, I'm good. And you just go on your own path. And of course, for the person who receives that to receive that, respect that, and then continue in their own dance. So that's really like a dance floor kind of etiquette without having to talk on the dance floor.
Yeah, it comes back to energy, right? I mean, energy's in motion, emotions, and being able to, if you, as a man or woman, doesn't matter. I think a lot of men think that they're the only ones being rejected, but rejection happens to everyone. When you get that rejection, whether it's on the dance floor or on the dance of life, humility. There's a great Zen master proverb that I love, which is, you're nobody special. I'm nobody special. And when you have that flat line of humility of, I'm literally nothing, I'm literally nobody special, nothing can make you feel shame anymore, because I'm already just nothing. Nobody's in Wu Wei. I'm already
exactly. Yeah, I love that. And to recognize that doesn't take away from your own self-love. Like if you're like you put so much emphasis on the external, if someone doesn't love me or someone rejects me there, then that means that now I love myself less and thus I'm depressed or I'm, not happy. Then that's where we start to look at, oh, we're focusing externally. And that was a big thing for me, and where I was like very insecure for a long time. I had like some major wounds around feeling worthy and accepted. And I recognized that it was because I was like, so, oh my gosh, this person has to like me. They have to think this of me, this and this and that, external. It's like, none of that even matters. And once we really like dissolve those like deep levels of attachment to outcome, essentially on the external, then we start focusing inwards, and it's like deeply loving ourselves. And that already makes us more attractive to other people, because you're not like focused on other people in a way that's like needing their energy, almost like you're taking from them. It's like, doesn't matter what they think or what they feel of me. I still love myself so much. And then that already, like, people are attracted to that. That's what we are attracted to in life, because we want to essentially be that. We all want to love ourselves. And that's when, like, you're on the dance floor and you get rejected or something. It's like, okay, cool. I'm having a great time dancing with myself anyway. So it's not like you or need to have a good time to dance with another person. It's like, I'm having a great time. Either I'm dancing with you or I'm dancing with myself, and like, we can share that or not. And like, I love you no matter what. It's like, so that perspective allows us to remember like our freedom in a way. Cause it's really just remembering we're always free. It just, we forget. It's like what you said about that Rumi quote.
Yeah, and the door is so wide open. It's always wide open. It's our own thoughts that keep us in that box, and you can't dance in a box. I mean, you have to have a pretty big box to be able to dance in the box we put ourselves in. When we are flowing with energy in qigong or in reiki, is more focused upon more linear healing on the table or in nature, wherever you are. You have to be listening to other people's emotions. If you're working also with your own emotions, you have to be listening honestly to your own emotions and feeling that to heal it, rather than trying to kind of convince yourself that you're happy. Or even some people try to convince themselves that they're sad or they're bad. I lived in the United Kingdom for a while, and the culture is very self-depreciating, and they use it as humor. Like, it's like they have a little bit of joy in them, but then they say something degrading about themselves to, I don't know, maybe seem less narcissistic or something. But they'll say things bad about themselves and go, haha, it's like a fake laugh, and it's very confusing. I mean, people do it around the world, but very specifically in England, I saw that a lot. And I mean, they drink a lot of alcohol to get past those social barriers, but it doesn't really do that. And that's a good leeway to, I mean, I'm personally sober. I never liked alcohol. I do enjoy some plant medicines, like lavender and reishi and the more magical ones as well. But my personal feeling is that alcohol is a placebo effect, and even though it's a depressant, it makes people feel really bad. People think, oh, it's going to loosen me up. People think, oh, it's going to help me dance. Oh, it's going to help me feel worse. But it's really leads to more like serious health problems and serious mental problems. And I was just talking with somebody about the frequency in French culture of women dying from physical abuse, and alcoholism is a huge thing over there, and like wine culture, and people start drinking in early teenage years. What would you recommend in terms of people who are drinking alcohol, not like healthy smoothies that can help you feel better too to dance, but people don't have that mind control to tell them that. But yeah, what would you say to people who feel like, oh, they need alcohol to dance, or they need to look cool, like in the mind control movies where Stifler from American Pie is the person drinking the most alcohol is the coolest? I mean, it's BS, but what would you say to help people out of that matrix? Is a good leeway?
I love this question. Thank you. Yeah. So something interesting, just even about alcohol, where what we're talking about, where like people feel like they can loosen up and dance, to recognize that, oh, wow, alcohol is allowing me to see, like, can be grateful for it in this sense, or like alcohol is allowing me to see that there's way more to me than I'm allowing myself to express. It's not, so it's like interesting that it can show us this to ourselves, but if we're using that if we're relying on that to get to that state, then that's when it becomes an abuse. Like, you had alcohol maybe only one time in your life, and you had this whole experience where like, oh my gosh, I could dance, I felt free, I felt connected. Then you could look at that like, oh, you could take it as like a plant medicine, essentially, like experience. Like, why was I able to access that state when I took the medicine, when I took the alcohol, and when not? And then now it's like, if you're relying on that to get you to that space, that's when it becomes a problem, because it's also, like a depressant, you have all these issues. I've never really thought about it like this before, but to like honor it for that. And then like have a little bit of like gratitude of like, wow. Cause for me, that's what happened. Like I told you, I'm very ashamed, didn't express myself. When I was in college, everyone's drinking. I'm here in, South Florida. And then I went to college in Central Florida. It was like the big thing to do, as it is in most of the United States. And the cool thing to do. And even far before you're actually of age to do so. So that was another thing about it that made it even more cool. You had to like do it and you're underage and like this whole thing. And so I experienced like, whoa, I can dance. Like even before I had that really intense experience with at the music festival, I wasn't drinking at that point. I remember feeling like I was like at a karaoke. I was even singing too. I was at a karaoke and I felt like comfortable to express myself in front of people. Had I had taken that one experience where I broke out of that contraction and fear and been like, oh, let me like psychoanalyze myself and see why might I be only okay to do this when I'm drinking, and then feel completely afraid when I'm not drinking, then I could go on a healing journey to like merge those spaces and not need the alcohol and not need all of the health problems that are associated with alcohol. And so, but I didn't, because I wasn't thinking like that. But it just shows that, okay, there's something there beyond what I'm normally operating at, and I'm able to access that. So to first know that that's what's going on, and to start to look at what are the things, the mental programs, what are the fears, what am I afraid of, what am I ashamed of that are blocking me from accessing this state of, freedom from my mind on a daily basis. It's not to feel drunk and wobbly, but like the level of expression. And so we start to like, just start asking ourselves like, oh, okay. And at that point, we're listening to this podcast, we start to know that there's other ways of doing that by actually, going into ecstatic dance or expression, and expressing ourselves in ways that we were previously blocked off from, and not looking for a substance to get us there. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, like the whole social impact of it, which is the fact that this is like, something that makes you more popular when you're younger, especially. I don't see it as much now in the community. Like, I mean, I'm in a community here in Miami where no one really drinks anymore, but there's definitely a lot of drinking in other communities in Miami, I would say. So you could start to look for those communities in your area who are more about spirituality. They're more about connecting with themselves. They're more about feeling these emotions rather than running from them or needing a substance in order to bypass them. Because essentially that's what's coming up. You're dancing or you're going to like connect with someone. You're starting to feel that block. You're starting to feel that insecurity. So, oh, let me get a drink so that I don't feel this anymore. And then I can move past that, instead of, oh, let me feel this. Let me go into this feeling and be an alchemist and transmute it. These are the differences. And, you have like these conscious communities, more yoga based health mindset ones that aren't about bypassing it anymore. They want to go into that because they want true transformation. They don't want to just, suppress, become depressed and feel anxious.
I'm glad that you gave a more gentle, loving, caring perspective to people who are still involved with alcohol, because I'm a former martial artist from New York, which is all about blunt honesty, discipline, and I'm health obsessed. So I'm going to rip and tear apart rather than Jen was more dancing around with you, helping you, guiding you to a more healthy way of handling your emotions.
I wouldn't say it's dancing around it, but it's like dancing through it. It's like, because imagine when people feel that what they're doing is wrong and people are judging them for that, it just creates more resistance. So if I'm speaking about it in such a way that creates more resistance for people, even if what I have to say is like pure gold, just the way that I'm saying it, it's already going to be off-putting. So that's really the biggest thing I've learned with all of this is like the way we speak and the energy that comes from it. And that comes from me not being in a judgmental space. That comes from me seeing the root of it within them and recognizing that this gets passed on generation of generation. This gets passed on through society, through social norms, through whatever, the media, all of this stuff. It's no one's to blame. No one's to blame. And recognizing that, forgiving everyone and everything, and just being like, okay, you have a choice. Like now I'm giving you this information. You have a choice. If you want to, continue that pattern, great. If you don't, great. But I'm not here to judge you either way. And whatever you choose is perfect and divine, and you're free to choose. They're free to choose that too. And if I'm judging that, that's for them, that's my ego saying, oh, well, that's wrong and this is right. When reality, like that's just that limits me. Now I have a stressful, like, oh, these people, like they're so drinking and then it just creates that. It's just only hurting me. So if I, can love people no matter what and be compassionate and like respectful of everyone's decision, I'm sharing the information. I don't have to attach to the outcome, and I stay free. They stay free. We can be, and let's feel free.
Yeah. And there's so many different ways to dance and different ways to dance in the dance of life. And I can have that tough love energy, and it's really needed as well. And that's more like a really intense dance, somebody who's like really getting into it. And what I'll say for you all on the tip of being able to exit the matrix of alcohol is a more blunt and New York style sort of truth coming in, just showing reality. When you have a decade plus of drinking, how many people at 50 years old who drink that have that beer gut? Or for women, they have the varicose veins because their tubes, their cells have busted out because alcohol kills your veins and blood vessels. It literally kills everything that it touches. That's why they use it as hand sanitizer, which is terrible because you're actually ripping open the barriers of your skin are there to protect you. And when you do that consistently, you're digging yourself in a deeper hole that you're trying to get out of. So somebody might be feeling bad about their body. Someone might be feeling bad about the way they look. And then the alcohol is digging them into a deeper hole. And now they're 50, 60 years old Karen, and they're like wrinkled, and all the alcohol is taking such a toll on them. So I like to, like Buddha said, look at reality exactly how it is. And alcohol is on the top 5 most harmful drugs to self and others. So it's the top 3 actually. It's opiates are number 1, alcohol is number 2, crack and cocaine is number 3.
Wow, so, almost 4 crack and cocaine. That's wild.
It's this dynamic, like you're right. If you want to be non-judgment, loving, help you dance you out of the matrix, good. But also, hey, look at the reality that if you do this consistently, you're harming your internal environment and you're harming the external environment.
Well, don't say that.
One of my friends in Africa was telling me this story about, I was asking about how I can help out with the water situation and what's the reason for the water situation, how it's so dirty and polluted, and they have to ship in bottles of water because their water is so polluted. And he's like, oh yeah, there's an alcohol company right here from America. They make beer and vodka there, and what they do is they take loads of our clean water, basically take all our well water, they make alcohol, and then pump out dirty fermented waste water that comes out of it. And that's why these places in a lot of third world countries are made that way, because of alcohol companies. And I connected with a woman who's a water advocate in Africa as well. And she was just saying the same thing. It doesn't get any media coverage because alcohol companies have so much money. But she's saying, yeah, these rivers were once crystal clear, golden pure. And because of these alcohol companies, now we have brown crap water and people are dying. And then all of these people are doing these UNICEF, oh, we're helping out, we're helping out. But I'm a love and light person, but I'm not fluffy. So it's like, I give that yin yang of like, hey, this is reality too.
Yeah, and I don't deny the reality. And just because I didn't list all of the facts of why alcohol is not helpful and is harmful for ourselves and others, doesn't mean that I'm denying the reality of it, and doesn't mean that my lack of judgment around it is not a lack of denying the truth around it. I can still say, hey, these are all the facts. If you want to continue, the degradation of the planet and your own internal selves, you have free choice to do that. However, if you want to end that within yourself and the planet, you have a choice by stopping it, but you have a choice. And I love you no matter what. I love everyone, whatever they're doing. And that's where like my power comes in. And that's why it doesn't take away from me or others, and others don't feel like, oh, what I'm doing is wrong. Then they get to think, oh, do I really want to continue doing this? I have a choice. I empower them. So I can enter them into a state of empowerment rather than disempowerment or thinking, oh my God, what am I doing is wrong? Because then it's like that feeling of being wrong really doesn't allow for us to transform when we think that what we're doing is wrong. When we're like, okay, I have an opportunity to make a shift. I don't have to feel like I'm a bad person. Maybe I didn't know that. Maybe if I am still choosing that, okay, great. That's still like what's happening, but people are empowered to make a better decision that would allow them to essentially transform themselves and the world around us. I think we have to be, especially in the spiritual community, be much more aware of how we're speaking about things in a way that's like empowering for anyone and that doesn't create more resistance or more disconnection. Because if we're like, oh, well, we're the good people and you guys are the bad people because we don't do this and you do this, it just creates that's just more separation. And it just perpetuates the illusion of separation. And that's, the opposite of what we're here to do. And that essentially, that's even a step beyond protecting the planet, is coming back to unity, the remembrance that we are all one, and we're all connected. And I am no different than that person over there who's drinking and doing all these drugs. Like I'm still them. And so if I get to love that part of them, it allows that to even transform, and it creates the energy pathways to be more and more clear. And I think that this is something that we don't really talk about so much, when it comes down to this, because we're so passionate about wanting to protect the planet, protect the animals, live in a better place, that it's like, oh, well, gosh, I just like, that's just so bad. And like, oh, we get angry about it and perpetuate more of like a vibration of disconnect. And I'm here to be the radical Aquarius moon that I am, and like it create more empowerment through that. And so that's the avenue I'm choosing to take, and let's flow with it.
Yeah, I mean, I have Aquarius moon as well, so I guess the influence is different in the masculine form. Is yeah, all of what you're saying is totally valid and true, but everything's half true. I mean, I have Egyptian ancestors, and there's a great Egyptian proverb, everything's half true. So in this path of authenticity, I realized that I am kind of an asshole, and like I'm also really kind in a lot of ways, but not being overly nice, because in my experience with specifically this conversation about helping people face their emotions and liberate themselves, some people, the love and light approach, the non-judgmental approach, works great, and maybe they had some serious trauma in their life, some PTSD, so they're like, oh, I'm finally safe to listen. They weren't listening. But some people need that, hey, look at the reality, look at the real situation of what's going on. And in my personal experience of helping several people get sober and get on the healthy life path successfully, is actually each and every time that I've dealt with other people with alcoholism, is what got them to transform and really start looking at their internal world and really start healing themselves was me telling them, hey, look, you're harming yourself drastically. It's not little. You're harming the environment drastically. It's not little. It's not this little thing. And when
I
we
don't
do
think that we're
Mr.
different.
Nice Guy or Mr. Nice Girl, we can also do that with ourselves and go like this, the classic, oh, it's just a little sip, oh, it's just a little wine, and oh, it's just a little beer, oh, it's just one beer. But then that compiles and compiles, and it takes 150 gallons, or not gallons, I think 150 liters of clean water to produce one beer. So when people hear stuff like that, sometimes clicks right open. Oh my gosh, nobody was telling me about this in an honest, blunt way. So that works
I don't think
for a
that
lot of
we're
people,
any
and then some
different in
people
that.
need the more fluffy. Oh, hey, I love you. I'm soft. I'm welcoming, non-judgmental. Here, let's get you through this. Some people need, hey, look, jerk, you're poisoning Africa. Hey, look, you're poison. You're gonna have a fat beer belly by the time you're 50. Do you want to be couch bound with diabetes when you're 60? I don't think
Why
so.
can't why can't we, why couldn't I mean, I don't think we're any different in that. I'm not saying don't tell people the truth. Don't like, I'm like, yeah, be direct, like be like radically like authentic, be sharing the truth of it. So I'm all for that. And there's no part of me that's like, no, don't like mask all of that stuff. No, tough love is like the greatest form of love, I think. A real tough love rather than tough love disguised as actual trauma. That's different, but tough love in a way that's like, hey, this is what's really going on. I'm a firm believer in that. So I don't feel that there's any difference in our approach in that sense.
Yeah, I'm just playing devil's advocate and poking people's buttons here. Uh, that gives me a really good uh, piece of wisdom I'd like to pull out of you is how can we dance through the shadow work? How can we dance through those lower emotions or lower emotions when we're angry and we're resentful and hateful and violent and all of these things that people are usually, like you said before, they're dancing up and away from, and they're going up here and they're dancing away from that lower chakra of like, oh, I'm dominating this space and this is my space and I'm strong, and all those can be like an angry, violent, primal experience. So what would you say is your advice for people who are working dance with shadow work, want to dance with their devils and shadows and demons?
Love this. A big part of it is like really allowing it to play out. So much of the stuckness in it, or like the reason why we're going around it or dancing up here, not trying to be in it, is because we're avoiding it. So to go into it in a healthy way would look something like going. I like to use the example of it being an ecstatic dance, but this can be done in any place. Feeling like, let's say there's a song that's starting to bring that out of you and you're like, whoa, this is this energy of like rage that I've suppressed. Do I continue to suppress it or do I go into it? How can you like rage it in your being and release the judgment of, oh, other people are watching me, I must be crazy, and this is something I need to hide? It's not something you need to hide. Allow yourself to be. I'm not saying to go and punch a wall or punch another person, but to like literally act it out, because it just needs expression. It needs expression and it needs that love too. You're loving it by allowing it to express in a safe and healthy way. And whether it's like screaming, like literally the most breakthrough, most spiritual experiences I've had have been going into the rage and literally screaming in such a way that would scare fucking anyone, including myself, and loving myself through that process, allowing myself to be like, damn, that shit was inside of me and I've been afraid of it for so long. I actually want to do it right now. I don't need to be afraid of that anymore. I don't need to be afraid of all the people that are going to watch this, because we all have that. And I actually feel so much lighter because I'm not afraid to express that to you or however many people are going to watch this. And it's empowering. There's nothing like, the only way that would be hurting is actually not wanting to do that and not, because you're afraid of, oh, I'm going to look crazy. My face is like, "Ugh," or like, I'm screaming so loud that it's going to scare this person outside, or like, it's okay. I'm not saying to go into like a funeral where everyone, you know, it's like you time and space for that, but like to have appropriate spaces and settings where that could be done is potent and powerful. And I feel that that's something that actually gets to be brought into more of a ceremonial space. And I find that when we go into plant medicines, a lot of the times it's like, keep your cool, be quiet, don't move too much. But it's like, sometimes we need to go into that. And that's what allows the energy to move. And that's when I've had breakthrough experiences, and I've actually been silenced in that, in medicine ceremonies, where like that's coming out and it needs to just be expressed. But because someone is triggered by that within themselves, they stop it in me. And it's like, whoa, now we have to like really take a step back. Like, what's going on in these ceremonies? Because there's so much of energy that gets to move. But if we're like saying this is wrong and you need to shut up, and that's like too much, then you're again perpetuating more of the problem that is continuously like creating more issues. And when we hold judgment around that, like let's say we're in a space and ecstatic, like let's say we're at ecstatic dance, and let's say I didn't prime everyone to be accepting of anything that comes up, whether it's screaming, whether it's crying, whatever, then maybe we have some people over here who are like judging them for that. And they're like, whoa, we need to like stop this. Are you okay? And it's like, no, like allow them to have their experience, go into that, because after you're going to feel an actual like ball of energy move through your being, and that liberates you and allows you to go deeper into your expression. Because ultimately, like a lot of it is just like our own judgment around it. It's like, oh, that anger, I can't express that. This is not safe. This person is going to think this, like all of these things, like that's what's hurting you more than anything.
Oh yeah, can feel it in my body. And yeah, that experience of that who cares energy, like it's something that I love to teach as of recently, is that in order to be loved, you're also going to be hated. That's just the nature of this dual world. But the reason why love is so powerful is because you can love haters and you could love lovers. It's not dual, whereas like, oh, you're joyful and then you're sad. It's not dual. Love, you can love all of these emotions. And one of the things that I get into is like this like primal masculine warrior energy, because I am a martial artist and have been much more in the energy and healing arts recently. But I was just surfing yesterday, and I just got into surfing, and I fucking love it. And I caught this nice wave, and I just started growling. I was like, ah! And there was no like decision to start growling. It was just like that was the joy of the moment. And then the other time I remember doing that was when I was with the men's group workshop in based in California, Sacred Sons, and we had the Brother Dome, which was this martial arts dome on the desert dirt, and you basically point at someone and say, "I'm gonna wrestle you." This is not throwing fists or anything, but I had my friend like pretty much pinned, and it was like a space of like, okay, I'm the winner here. And I started just growling and doing all these primal movements, and like there's like an animal inside me that's really sexy and powerful and beautiful. And if you keep that animal in a cage, that's like the reflection of everything's one, right? Like we keep tigers and lions and jaguars and panthers in the zoo. We don't keep squirrels in the zoo. We don't keep sheep in the zoos, farms. Like all of these animals that are non-ferocious or non-beautiful or non-mystical, they don't get put in cages. But that's a reflection of how we're treating ourselves, even with animals who aren't violent. Like I have that black jaguar energy. That's my spirit animal. But for someone even who has like an elephant, that's not violent. Elephants are not violent animals, but it just holds a big space and it is powerful. So if somebody has that kind of animal spirit, and now we're getting really shamanic, is if they have that sort of powerful or mystical or beautiful energy, like we were saying before, sometimes we put conditions around that. Sometimes that power of our uniqueness is held back because of whatever BS reason. But if you could allow yourself to be loved and hated, and
Yeah.
one of my friends, Larry, who was one of my coworkers when I was doing a mindfulness program for an after school program, he said, haters make me stronger. I was like,
Yeah.
yes, Larry. Yes, that's the new mantra for me. And then
Yeah.
when you have that space of like not just looking for being loved and appreciated and admired all the time, but like, yeah, maybe like you're saying, someone's gonna, oh, are you okay? Which is really like, I'm judging you. Like, what are you doing? You're not conforming. Is really what their emotional voice is saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can say like, fuck you, hater, I love you, hater. This is like,
Yeah.
you're making me stronger and I'm gonna dance in your face. Like Shiva, the god of destruction and transformation, is always dancing,
Yeah.
apparently, according to the Vedas, always consistently dancing in his life, internally and externally. So like
Yeah.
when we're destroying and we're doing that shadow work of like transforming shame and anger and grief, is like, I'm gonna dance right in your face and you can hate me. Go for it. I don't care. It's how
Yeah.
many people in our life have come and gone. We're the only person we're with 100% of the time. So
Yeah.
egolessness is great, but you got to take care of yourself and prioritize your body and your vessel so that you can be of service to others and you can dance with others and enjoy that balance of, if we wanted to be egoless, we would have stayed in heaven. If we wanted to have the non-Maya, no illusion of separation or no veil, we would have stayed up there. But we wanted to come down and descend and work through the challenges and the shadows and work through the earth school and get all her tough love lessons to be able to dance through even that. And there's one more point I'll make, and then you roll with your wisdom again. Is one of my good friends now, Michael Ducharme, of owner of Vita Lotus Healing Retreat Center. He gave me this really good piece of wisdom that we often think that the biggest challenge is to love ourselves or to love our partner or to love our kid. But he's saying, no, 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 that's the bottom of the ladder. Most people love themselves a lot more than they think and are more self-serving and selfish than they allow others to realize. And it's easy to love your family. It's easy to love your friends if you vibe with them. But he said, no, no, no. The highest quality of love is to be able to look straight into a demon's eyes or somebody that you consider to be devilish or
Yep.
evil or the antithesis, the opposite of what you personally believe in or vibe with, and go, I love you.
Yep.
Then everything else is crystal clear and loving. Then you go back to your self-love meditation. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also love that person that I used to hate. And now I feel liberated.
Yeah.
Ladder of love. I don't
I
know
was
how
writing
that goes.
about that. I was writing about that recently too. I love that. Wow. Thank you for bringing that beautiful Christ consciousness through. And that's a super potent point there. There was something that came through. I just like really, really love that. That I was going to share. What was the point that you were right before? I'm kind of losing the train of thought. Right before you started talking about that, it was
About the animals in cages and how it's
oh
reflecting
yes, the animals. Okay.
yourselves.
So yeah, when we're okay, this one is so you're talking about like go in the men's circle and going into this like really primal, like masculine level of ourselves. It's so important to recognize that energy, like, to a different degree, different chemical balance, of course, but is in women as well too. And for us to honor that within ourselves, which is what I just expressed through my voice and that like space, it also comes into that. And for women to really go into those spaces as well and to like get back into our primal, like wild, like fierce space that is very much shunned upon, I feel, in a lot of ways by traditional society, by mainstream society. Because it's like, oh, look nice, be really pretty, put on makeup, don't, be too loud, don't be too wild, straighten your hair, this and this and this, put on fake nails. and fake eyelashes, and don't go into that space, because that space is fierce. That's fucking powerful. And if women are connected with that full power within themselves, they can totally, like, we take on the world. Like, that's like, you can't stop that. You can't stop that energy. But the masculine, the toxic masculine, patriarchal suppression is the one kind of saying, no, that's too much. And why we have all these social norms, and why we have all this body dysmorphia and like all this stuff, because women are supposed to look a certain way, and if they're not, then they're wrong, and then this and this and this. And it's like, to go into that means for us to rewild ourselves, come back into our full power by connecting with our masculine and feminine energy. Both men and women have both masculine and feminine energy. And so if we're just saying that women are supposed to be only the feminine energy in this way, and if not, they're wrong, and same thing for men and vice versa, then we're still limiting ourselves, and we're even limiting men from being in their feminine power as well too, because it's like normal for them to be only in their masculine power. And so when we take that approach, we can start to look at how women can be more in their masculine power, not to be more of a man if they want, to change their physical appearance. That's one thing, but to like just pretty much take on the principles of masculine and feminine structure and have that balance within us. That's essentially finding divine union within our own system, within our own energy channel, and we're not outsourcing. And then that way, if we're looking for a partner, and we're more of an androgynous energetic being, doesn't mean you have to be physically androgynous, although you can if you want to, then we're looking, when we're connecting from a place of like divine union within each of ourselves, and we get to share and merge that, rather than I'm here and this, I have the feminine and you have the masculine, and then we're trying to seek that in the other person. So then it becomes, there's something even deeper that we get to share energetically through that lovemaking space or whatever it is, even when we're just connecting with other people as friends. So really potent and powerful to really return to balance within ourselves, so that we can return balance on the planet.
Yeah, that yin yang, feminine masculine union is something that we talked about really potently with my friend Sundal Roy, who's a really powerful Kriya yogini and supermodel, and very androgynous in a really sexy, beautiful way to be integrate both yin and yang. I love that you mentioned the mama bear energy, the mama bear being what I believe, this is just my opinion, to be the most fierce force in the universe. Whatever way that manifests is different, but there's a reason why oligarchical, monarchical religions, and also the Freemasons were very against women. Like, women couldn't be a Catholic priest, women couldn't enter the Freemasons. You had to show your breast to prove that you're a man to enter that secret society, which is we're learning about kind of the darker stuff that they do nowadays. And that's because they know if Mama Bear sees that dark stuff they're doing to the kids, and I won't go too into detail because I don't want to be too shadow work in this, but if Mama Bear sees that that's not happening, there's heads being torn off, and they'll go get Papa Bear, they'll go get other Mama Bears and say, no, that's not happening. And a lot of 2020 vision that revealed to us all of these darker things that are happening in society, the feminine is the power that will transform it. The mama is the power that will say, no more of that. And it's a lot of women are speaking up and getting out there and getting people fired up about, hey, we need to change. And it's the mama bear that's going to lead. It's the lioness that goes and hunts, and the male lion like me is chilling and doing my thing. So the mama bear, the feminine energy, is the most powerful force. And we're taught that the masculine is the strong one. Men don't have that strength. It's not in us genetically to have that specific primal mama bear energy. We can get close with what you're talking about, like inner feminine work. Like, I've done a lot of inner feminine healing, and I have that mama bear within me, but it's nowhere near actually being a mother. actually being a mother. Mothers do things that men, it's impossible to do.
We give birth.
That they do it, their dance of life in that mama bear energy. That's some powerful, potent, tough love medicine, protective medicine.
Yeah. I mean, we give birth. So it's like we're literally birthing, creating life on the planet. So of course that it has to be that way. And the love that comes from a mom, I'm not a mom, but I know the love from my mom and I witness it all around. It's immense. It's beyond anything. It's beyond words. And that's the power of being able to create life and bring like souls through our being onto this planet.
Yeah,
it's a powerful energy. It's the most powerful energy.
I learned from massage therapy about genders is that the weakest people among us are the ones that are leading us. And that's 50 to 60-year-old mid-age men are by far the least pain tolerant and the most likely to go, oh, you're that's too much pressure in the massage. The toughest,
literally massaging my hips while you said that.
By far the toughest people, women, especially mothers. It's like, I mean, mothers, it's just, oh yeah, what? I'm like, deep, oh yeah, that's great. And I'm like doing martial arts level elbow. They're like,
get in there.
Finally someone gave me this. But
the
pain tolerance and the strength is so much farther, so much greater. Older men and younger men have that pain tolerance, not at the level of women, but mid-aged men, absolute pansies. The ones that like, especially the ones that have the big whatchamacallit, chest press, bench press physique that are going to the gym all the time. You would not believe how pansy they are. Oh, why are you pushing so hard? Oh, like a little tiny bit of deep tissue. I'm like, man.
Yeah, I tried to get my dad a massage once. It was like
emotional and energetic strength that's anywhere near where I'm at or anywhere near where women are at. And that's what I'd like to finish up with. I'd love to ask you this 2 questions mixed in, but I know that you have practiced a bit of qigong, and I would like to ask you about your experience with qigong, but I've also would like to ask you a bit about how you feel dance and energy work can bring out that inner strength or open up to that inner strength that we both obviously have. If anyone's intuitive can feel that inner strength. But those are my 2 questions for you to finish up this wonderful roller coaster of an experience.
I love it. One second, we got some more water. Yeah. So, I mean, qigong already has, when I was going to classes regularly, it really helped me to tune into that internal energy without feeling like I'm thinking about the external so much, and start to feel myself and feel my power and feel my strength. And at that point was when my dance started shifting into more of like a connected energy movement, rather than just like, okay, I'm up here, but like, or down here, just shuffling or something, but like a total body, like connection with the breath and my energy and power. And I feel that, it's so crucial and important to understand that within ourselves, because then we get to reclaim our power, reclaim that sense of strength within ourselves, as opposed to thinking that it has to come from working out or going to the gym or doing, these things, which are great too, but knowing that there's also just this like inner strength and core that from our core that gets activated when we get to tune in to that. And when we dance with that, and that helps us to, again, tap into that dance of life, that flow of life that is just flowing through all of us, and recognizing that it really comes from this deep state of internal connection and connection to our power center. So
You
qigong
hit
is
the
just,
nail on the head with the strength bit, because that's something
yeah,
that's a very profound and masterful aspect of fitness. My friend Alton Sanders would tell you the same thing. You could work out as much as you want. You could be active as much as you want, but if you don't cultivate that inner energy strength, then it doesn't truly manifest. It's almost like our body is gauging how strong we are by how much we trust the power of our energy, our energy body. So that's a really beautiful way to finish this up, is wishing you loads of spiritual strength, inner energetic strength, the ability to dance through life as a fit, sexy, beautiful being that you are in life, and be
well,
able to dance through all of it, not just the light, fluffy stuff, but the deep
yeah,
stuff. Thank you so much, Jen, for
thank
being
you
on
so
here. If you want
much.
to finish up with any message or anything like that, you can go ahead, or just
Ah.
peace.
Yeah, again, super honored, really grateful. This was like a very empowering talk. I'm just in awe right now, like buzzing from it. So thank you so much. I love this podcast. I love what you're doing. I love your energy. If anyone wants to connect with me, you can reach out to me on Instagram. I'm Jenergy_flow. So that's JENERGY_flow. And yeah, I'll be having lots of different things coming up. If you're in Miami, we've got lots of cool events. I travel as well, and I'm also available for private sessions virtually or in person. So love to support and share in any way, be on more podcasts, and continue this beautiful flow. So thank you all. Stay magical, have fun, and I'll see you later. Thank you.